Hello YouTube! So my name is Disciple or Josiah. I wanted to quickly make a video going over some basics for For the King. I'll be streaming this game a lot on my Twitch. I'll link that down below. If you have any specific questions, you can go visit the Twitch, or you can just leave a comment. I'll get back to you probably within 30 minutes, to be honest, unless I'm asleep or at work. Yeah, as I've streamed this game, I've noticed that a lot of people have questions, and so I wanted to make some videos as kind of guides to reference should those questions arise. Plus, I had people mention that there aren't really any guides currently on YouTube. They can't really find much in the way of guides. So I figured, hey, there's a niche I can fill and actually be helpful to people. So let's get started. This video is just going to be the basics. If you're looking for more intermediate or advanced stuff, you'll just have to wait till I get to posting those. I'll be posting those in the next few days after this goes up, and you can check my channel to see if those are up. Let's go over some basics, all right? So I'm going to go over and click into campaign. Levels or chapters and the difficulty are the things I want to talk about first, right? So chapter 1, or level 1, if you will, would be this specific story mission with these optional. These are optional challenges. These just, pertain to unlocks, which I'll discuss that later. So these little gemstones here, these are the optional challenges. This is the story mission, and then this is the difficulty here. As you can see, it adjusts many different things. When you go to the difficulty, you can adjust the life pool, loadout, chaos speed, and market inflation. Now, these do have sliders. You can adjust them yourself and make it custom. There is a note to this, though. Finishing it on a custom difficulty is totally fine. However, if you do master and you change the sliders at all, even if you go down, I believe, on loadout points and make it harder, I believe you do not get any achievements from Steam. You may still get unlocks, but you don't get the Steam achievement for beating Master if you mess with this Master mode slider. I just wanted to address that in the basics. It could have gone in the intermediate video, but I think that's just a quick point to talk about. All right, so yeah, and then let's get into this as well. So there's lives as you play through the campaign. The characters that you select, which let's just go ahead and get into a run here. So if I start that, select adventure. All right, so each character here has life from 0 to whatever their max is. If they hit 0, they will die, consuming a life for the entire party. Now let me actually just quickly do a loadout. I'm just gonna go ahead and run this. I just want to get into this and just show you guys. I don't even need to do any loadout stuff. I just want to show you guys the basics here. So yeah, if a character hits 0 life and they don't have a sanctum, which I'll get into sanctums in just a second right after this, you will lose a life. Every character pulls from a shared life pool, and I'll show this at the top. So this life pool over here, there's going to be a little bit of dialogue on the way here, but this life pool over here on the right currently has 0 because we're playing on master mode, so we don't actually have any lives. But were you to find any lives from this pool here, it would be tracked. So if you're playing on Journeyman, you would have about 4 lives. They'd look like this. You see these little diamonds over here, or these hexagons rather. They would be on the opposite side over here showing lives. If any of your characters die, they're going to pull from that same life pool. So even if I have 4 lives and I have 4 characters, if one character dies 4 times, all the lives are gone. And then let's go quickly and address this. One thing I wanted to insert here, I missed when I originally recorded this video. This is a Sanctum, as you see here. Sanctum of Purity gives poison and curse immunity. There's many different varieties. I'll talk more about these in the intermediate video, perhaps. But if a character has a Sanctum, let's say Freya, which it fully restores your focus, so remember to use all of it first. So now I right-clicked, I use all my focus, I have a ton of movement. I'm going to devote to the Sanctum, and now she gets all her focus back, and she has this. Sanctum of Purity. The Sanctum is an extra life for the character who gets the Sanctum only. So Freya has an extra life. Right now I'm in Master Mode, I don't have any extra lives, but if Freya were to die, she would come back. It'd destroy the Sanctum, it'd be gone for good. So these are like extra lives, just wanted to mention that briefly in the beginner video. Combat. So combat is going to be played on a grid. These will be the characters that you'll have joining on the left. These will be enemies on the right. If we go here and click into this fight. The grid has a couple different advantages and disadvantages to it. And as you hover over, you can left click to go faster too, by the way. As you hover over a move and then select an enemy, it shows you. So if I go Shank here, and I go to the goblin or whatever, I click, you know, this guy, it shows that it'll do 0 to 6. The chance of each roll landing successfully is 70%. And that means the chance of the perfect, since there's only one roll, is 70. So if this were to roll, I would get that damage. With it failing, I get none. So that's the bit of the basic combat and rolls breakdown. There is physical damage, which you can see here. It's usually white like this, physical damage. And then there is magic damage. As I go to the next character, you'll see that. The Friar. Enemies have their own armor and resistance. So as you see here, like the Friar, my Friar here has 1 armor and 2 resistance. This is the defense against physical damage. This is the defense against magic damage. And the enemies will have this stat too at different numbers. They have armor with this blue shield, and if they have resistance, it'll be a purple shield. None of them have resistance. Actually, I kind of messed up this party as well. I just kind of, you know, clicking in really quickly. We actually don't have any magic damage, so that's a mistake of mine. But yeah, you'll see magic damage usually colored in purple. And then the last thing I want to mention before we move on to the next thing is evasion. Evasion right here in the green is the chance to evade all damage. So including magic and physical, but it's just a chance. And unlike armor, where if you take 5 damage and you have 3 armor, you actually take 2. If you evade successfully, you take 0. If you fail to, you take the full amount of damage. So you can stack evasion very high, even to 100, and be guaranteed, and I'll get to in an intermediate video, and be guaranteed to avoid all damage, or very likely, depending on how high you get the stat. It's very strong, but it takes a lot of stacking this particular evasion. And then one other thing I want to address here too is that abilities will have different target selections. As you see, actually not this guy, but the other guy. I'll get to him. As we go to the Friar, or no, sorry, the Farmer, you'll see the Farmer has a move called Poke, which is, you know, it just hits a single enemy just straight up. And then he'll have a move called Stab, I believe, and that'll or Thrust. It'll hit in a column, so it'll hit both of these guys, just like so. And then there's another thing I want to quickly address. There is Focus. That's these yellow orbs here underneath your character. Your character has this amount of focus, so the Friar has 5, the Hobo has 3. You can hover over an enemy or click them, left click. If you be careful now, if they're already hovered, right? I've already hovered the Goblin Scrapper. If I were to left click him now, it would just attack. But I can left click the Butcher and say I want to target this enemy instead. Okay, so on Perfect, the Hobo actually ignores armor and resistance. It's called Pierce. So if the Hobo successfully lands her attack, which will right click, which will make this golden, meaning that roll is guaranteed, meaning she's guaranteed to get her full damage and ignore armor. So that guy does go down. So there is armor, evasion, and resistance, and then there's the ability to pierce or ignore some of it on some moves, and then there's the ability to do AoE damage or splash on some moves, and then there's also just pure AoE. Splash targets a single enemy and then hits adjacent tiles for half damage. AoE does an actual full amount of damage. It is reduced, but it does full damage to all the tiles it targets. So like the Wizard quite often will have a 6 target AoE, and it'll just hit 6 tiles for full damage. It just will depend on the weapons that you have and the characters that you're playing. You guys will be able to see this in combat. I know sometimes it's not the most clear thing, but as you kind of get experience with it, you'll learn. I'm going to try to keep this video very simple. Again, if I skip anything, it's probably intentional. I don't want to make this video too long. I want this to be pretty simple to follow and understand. We actually got some new weapons here. So as you see here, as we get these new weapons. So this is Zap. It does 3 to 8 magic damage. It's single target and ignores armor and resistance. So this Sprig is a magic damage weapon. And then it has the ability on the second move, 0 to 8 magic damage, single target, Daze, which will remove their secondary actions, so they can't like move or whatever. I'm going to give it to this guy. So now we actually have some magic damage. Alrighty. Let's see. One other thing I want to mention is that every quest will have optional versus main goals. So the story quest here is how we would finish this mission. Now, there are secondary quests that you'll get from like towns and NPCs that you run into and overworld events that you stumble across, and those will pertain to certain extra rewards not related to just finishing and winning. Now they can power you up and help you win. Let's go ahead and actually show one here. So these would be secondary objectives. These are completely optional. They don't have to be completed, but you can, and then that'll, you know, this would get us this lightning mace, a pretty solid weapon that actually can shock, which shock would mess up an enemy's rolls. I think the debuffs and buffs, I think we'll save that for a separate video. This one's already getting a little long, getting close to 10 minutes. But yeah, that would be a great weapon. I'm just going to select a mission at random. I'm not going to finish this campaign. But I just wanted to mention that. Just keep that in mind, right? If you guys are in a tricky situation and you have like a side quest and you have a main quest, you need to weigh, is it worth it going out of my way to do this side quest? You know, I have 10 rounds to do this, or should I just be focusing on the main quest? Now, if you're just new to the game and you're not trying to get achievements and all the unlocks, it may be prudent to just finish the side quest and focus your resources on that. One more thing I want to discuss. There are many buffs and debuffs. I'm not going to go into all the details now, but I just want to mention where you can find this information. So if a weapon had a debuff, let's see. I'm trying to find one that has one. I think this guy's weapon actually had this one right here. If a weapon had a debuff like Daze, this weapon has an ability called Daze. Let's equip it and see if that lets me hover it. It doesn't actually discuss what it does there. Well, in combat, you could hover over the ability to read what it does. So I'm not going to go over every debuff and buff in depth here, but just mention that in combat, if you have a debuff on you, they've upped the clarity in this latest patch that just came out like yesterday or 2 days ago. They've upped the clarity as of the uploading of this video. And you can now hover over debuffs and it'll show a lot more detailed information if you're ever confused what's happening or what's killing you or whatever. So you can find that in combat on your character or on the enemy. You can hover over their debuffs. On the enemies, it'll be in the... I'll actually go back and do another fight here. Let's go here. On the enemies, if they have a debuff on them, it'll be at the top up here. So actually, this is a great option to show you guys, a great opportunity to show you guys. So I'm going to use some focus, try to make this attack more likely to land. And so now, look at this. He's dazed. So as I look up and hover over him, renders a target unable to use secondary actions. You see that? It's at the top there. So unfortunately, he went right after, so I couldn't full on read it. But I mean, you got the gist of it, right? He loses the secondary actions. The snake couldn't move. So if the snake was on a tile that was like burning or something, he'd have to stay on it. So that's where you can find that info. I'm not going to go into all of them. A few more things I want to mention just quickly. If you go to towns here, you can buy mercenaries. And these are people that, for this cost of 40 gold, will help you for this set amount of time. So this individual, Claudia, would join us for 6 rounds for 40 gold. 6 rounds is the turns at the top. So it's a full cycle of turns, all 4 of my players' turns, 6 times over. So it would be the farmer, the friar, the hobo, the shepherd's turn 6 times. And then after that, she would leave. Or if she dies first, she would leave. You can also find other followers, like the shepherd character will call followers in. Actually, I have her here, so I can show you guys that. For example, every few turns, she has a chance to, if I go here, she has a chance to call a sheep. Where do I... There is a way to get more info. It might have to be her turn. Let's go. End turn. All right, let me see if I can show you guys this. There usually is a way. I mean, in combat, I know how we can do this. Oh, there we go. There it is. It's the eye. Here we go. Okay, so you can see here, effects, gain 1 sheep companion. Overworld, end of turn, must be within 1 distance of a clear hex. Dungeon, beginning of a rest phase. Already accompanied by a companion or mercenary, cannot activate if already accompanied or poisoned. Okay, so she has a sheep that can join your party. It'll follow you around until it dies. And sheep doesn't really do anything. I believe it just absorbs a hit unless they've buffed her. They have discussed with me. I've actually talked to the devs. They said they're going to buff this character, the shepherd. So yeah, these are followers that will join the companion that, like if the shepherd gets a sheep, it'll follow her into every battle. If you're all together, then it'll show up in that battle. And they do different things. It really depends on the mercenary or the follower. As you guys play with that, you'll learn more. But that's one thing you can do for extra help is you can buy mercenaries. Don't recommend it. I don't think it's the best use of gold, but it is an option. And then the last 2 things I want to discuss. One is just a big tip that has been really helpful to me. and the other one is regarding unlocks. So if you're playing on master mode, or any difficulty really, as you complete dungeons and story quests and things of that nature, you'll get these lore points. You can use these. Let's quit out and actually I'll show you. Boom, boom. You can use these in the lore store, which can unlock new characters, new items and loadouts that you can start the game with, new traits, which are abilities that each character can have, a secondary free ability, new items and weapon families, new locations and things that you can interact with, and then new cosmetics, which are purely cosmetic, as the name suggests, but some of them are pretty cool. And then new mercenaries as well. So you can unlock new followers and new helpers as well. And the last thing I want to mention, real quick, this is just an extra tip for the beginner video. There are a lot of stats and there's a lot of info, and I'm not going to go over it all. One thing I do want to shout out that is a very valuable stat I think that most people overlook is find distance. This can be found on the crude torch, on the cracked spyglass, and on similar items. Find distance makes your character reveal extra tiles. I'll go back into that that campaign I was doing around themselves. And let me actually, this is kind of a more of an advanced tip, but I just really want to mention this in the basics video because I think no one will know about this, and this stat is insanely powerful. There are so many things you can find in the overworld to interact with to help you get items or loot or just do combat for extra XP. So look, I'm at the shepherd right now. If I move this one tile down, she reveals this one tile. You see these question marks? And if I move this, so I can't even see here with her. This tile down here, 2 spaces away, she can't see it. If I move down here, now she can. Find distance reveals additional tiles further out, and you can stack it. So the further you stack find distance, which is a circle, it's adding and expanding and revealing more and more and more tiles the higher you stack it. I think up to +3. And at that point, when you have max find distance, you find so many events, items, enemies, dungeons, so many things you can find to buff yourself and give yourself a leg up. And I just wanted to mention this in the basics video. Do not sleep on find distance. It's insanely powerful. I know it's hard to give up combat stats for it, but it's just one thing I want you to consider in the basics video. If you have any questions, I know there's a lot of confusing things I probably didn't touch on. Again, I didn't want to overload this basics video. Leave them in the comments. I'll be quick to respond and get back to you guys, and also I'll be streaming on Twitch if you have any questions or want to come watch me play there. We're currently doing a full master playthrough of all the levels. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck, guys. God bless. Take care. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed and will continue to follow along, join the community, subscribe, and be part of the future videos. I just wanted to quickly share where I find contentment, where I find joy, where I find hope in these crazy times we live in, with so much going on in the world, so much bad news, and so many just things to bring you down. And I just wanted to share that I am a Christian, and I fully believe, as silly as it may sound to some people, that there is a God that made us all with purpose. And although we all chose to go our own way, myself included, and to just reject this God, reject this creator, that broke his heart, that he didn't want us to be separated, and that he sent Jesus to die for our sins and to make us new, to make a way for us to be reconciled as a payment for our sin, as a payment for the punishment that we deserve, that Jesus died. And now we can be reconciled to God, and not only can we be made right with God and have the promise of heaven, but this life is also filled with purpose, as we're able to know him and find joy and contentment through the relationship with God, that we can invite others and we can make a lasting, eternal impact on others by sharing this truth and inviting them to know him. And I would just love to tell you guys more if you have any questions, but I just want you to know that God loves you, whoever you are, whatever you've done. Nothing has disqualified you from his love, that he genuinely cares for you more than you would ever know. And I've experienced that love, and it is just, it's done so much for me in my life, and I want that to happen for you guys. So thank you guys so much. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope you guys are here and going to join the community, no matter what you think or who you are or what you believe, guys. God loves you. I love you. God bless, guys.